continue to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day.
Welcome to another episode of Talk Smart with
Pugh.
I'm McCart. I'm Andrew McCart. That's Joe Pugh. Joe, this is episode 13. It's airing on a Monday because this weekend it was my wedding anniversary. So me and my wife, we went out to Islay, a beautiful Scottish island on the west coast, and we spent the weekend there. So I couldn't do the show yesterday, but we're here with today, and it's fight week. It's Joe Joyce, Zhilei Zhang, Repeat of Revenge. Let's jump straight into it. Your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, first of all, I think quite fitting that we're doing it today anyway, because it's been a quiet couple of weeks for boxing, but we're now getting straight back into it, and no better way to start with a preview of a big heavyweight rematch, and it goes down on Saturday night, Wembley Arena. I was there at the first one at Copper Box. Shocked a lot of people. Zhilei Zhang coming in and doing the business. And it was really quite punch perfect from Zhang that night. And if Joe Joyce is to get back on track, because let's have it right, before that loss, he was on a collision course for a world title. He was WBO number one. He just come off the back of a huge win against Joseph Parker, becoming the first person to stop him. So it's a real stumble in the road for Joe Joyce, and he's got to do a lot differently, and I'm sure we'll go into that. But yeah, what's your initial thoughts of the rematch?
You know what? A lot was said with the Smith-Eubank rematch. When it's a decisive sort of win, it doesn't want a rematch. Do you know what I mean? But look what Chris Eubank done with Liam.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? So obviously Liam had his weight issues and whatnot, but you can't take nothing away from Chris. Chris got the rematch, and look what he done. He turned them tables round, and he got the victory. And I think with Joe Joyce, he needs to do the same thing in terms of he needs to come in a little bit different. Now, I was shocked at his weight. I mean, he was 271 pounds, 272 pounds, whatever it was, against Joseph Parker. And look what he did to him, became the first man to stop a tough man in Joseph Parker. He came in at 255 or something like that, 256, almost 15, 16 pounds, a stone and a bit lighter against Zhilei Zhang, who's an absolute monster in his own right. Do you know what I mean? I think for Joyce to get this win, he needs to come in heavy. I think he needs to come in around that 270 mark, 270 pounds, 275 pounds, and be the juggernaut. Be the juggernaut like he is. He's got great stamina. We know that. And Zhilei Zhang doesn't have great stamina. I mean, the Filip Hrgovic fight, you can see him tailing off towards the end. And I was at Zhilei Zhang's fight in 2021 in Miami when he fought, I think it was the Canelo undercard, and he fought Jerry Forrest, and he got the majority draw. He dropped Jerry 2 or 3 times in the first 3 rounds. I think it was three knockdowns in three rounds. And then he sort of, again, he tapered off at the end and brought Jerry on a little bit. So if Joyce can weather the storm the first few rounds, and obviously take it into the later rounds, obviously the eye damage and what, it was a little bit too easy to hit Joyce in the first fight with that southpaw backhand. And I think obviously he'll rectify that. If he comes in heavier, get into the later rounds, so he can probably step on the gas a little bit to basically push Zhang back and hurt Zhang. And yeah, it's one of them ones where, how does he play it? How does he come into this fight? Does he approach it the way I said, come in heavier, or does he come in lighter again to try and be more fleet-footed? Because Zhang doesn't have great feet. He's got fast hands, but slow feet. Do you know what I mean? So it's one of them ones where I'm intrigued to see what Joe Joyce weighs on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, I think the weight thing last time round was slightly confusing because Joe Joyce is at a stage of his career now where he's never going to be able to change his style completely. You can make slight tweaks, but he's not going to come out like Floyd Mayweather boxing your head off. Like, he will get hit. That is just what Joe Joyce is. Joe Joyce is the juggernaut. So I think in order to maximise the potential of the Juggernaut and become the force that we know he is, the force that we see him use that brilliant jab against Daniel Dubois to break his eye, use the fantastic just come forward explosiveness against Joseph Parker, you have to be that heavy. You have to come in at your prime weight. And I think he would have learnt from that. I think, as you said, it was the back southpaw hand and what was constantly landing the whole fight. So I'm sure he will have adjusted and probably done a lot more southpaw sparring, and he's been in there now. I think he would have learned a lot from the what was it? I think 9 rounds he went with him. First time.
Six.
So was it 6 rounds that he went with him that night? He knows what to expect, and I think I'm confident that he at least will do better this time.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. I think obviously the eye injury was a brutal one. He couldn't see out his left eye. I think it was, or his right eye. Well, one of the two. It's 50-50. And I just think that I think that if he comes in, he's known as a juggernaut. We've said that, and you said you alluded to it as well. He's at that stage now in his career. He's 37, going on 38 years of age. He ain't going to change his style much. Right? There's nothing. We ain't going to see lateral movement, on his toes, bouncing in, bouncing out. We're not going to see that. Right? So for him to match Zhang, I think he's got to match him in size. And like I said, he is known as the Juggernaut, and there's a reason why he's called the Juggernaut, right? He can get hit, he can take a shot, but if he's got that extra 15 stone and a half behind him, 15, 16, 17, 18 pounds, whatever it was, behind him, right, to absorb them shots, and maybe that extra weight behind him to land bigger and heavier shots, I think he will have a little bit more success. I just didn't think he managed to push Zhang back as much as he got, because he was so light. He was only 256 pounds, 255 pounds, or whatever he was. So I think again, I'm not in his camp. I don't know what their game plan is, but for me, and I would like to see what the comments are underneath this, if people agree with me or disagree with me, I do think he should come in at about 270, 275, and then hopefully, again, if he beats Zhilei Zhang, he's just that one win away to being talked about, because he was talked about for an opponent with Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Do you know what I mean? But the heavyweight division is it's up in the air a wee bit now, because there's so many mandatories, and we don't know what's happening with Usyk and Tyson and Joshua and Wilder, Andy Ruiz, what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? It's just Hergovich, is he going to get his shot at Usyk? Who knows? So it's one of them ones where he wins this one, Joyce, and he's right back in the mix for one of these number one contenders, one of these world title fights.
Yeah, and it's for the WBO interim title, I believe, as well, which is that position that Joe Joyce held for such a long time. The WBA has just had their go with Daniel Dubois. We believe it will be the IBF next in Filip Hrgović. So if all goes to plan, the winner of Saturday night, probably by the autumn of next year, will be having a world title fight. So there's a lot on the line Saturday night. Joe Joyce is no spring chicken. It's going to be hard for him, if he does lose this, to work his way back up again. I know you're only one big win away in the heavyweight division, but he's getting on. So is Zhang. Zhang, I think, 39-40 himself. He stayed amateur, both of them amateur for very long times. So there's a lot on the line Saturday night, and I'm really looking forward to it. I've heard whispers around the Joe Joyce camp that he's very, very serious. He's very, very concentrated in this camp. He's certainly got a point to prove, because let's not forget, when this fight originally happened, it was a huge shock. It was a huge shock that this happened. He was a big underdog, Zhilei Zhang. I know a lot of people in boxing didn't write him off. I don't think anyone wrote him off, but he was an underdog, and it would have been a big hit for Joe Joyce that night. And I'll really look forward to Saturday night when we see that rematch, because I can't wait.
Yeah, like you said, he's only one win away in this heavyweight division for getting that big shot. And like a lot of people, me included, I was quite confident that he was going to win that fight against Zhilei Zhang. But like I said to you, sometimes, like, again, with the rematches only come if it's a close first fight. So, I don't think that first fight was that close with Zhang and Joyce, because Joyce did injure his eye, I believe, in the second or third round, and he did manage to get to the sixth round. But I think the right decision was made to call the fight off. But if he gets beat like that again, and Zhilei Zhang managed to get another decisive victory and stop Joyce again, it's a big hill to climb for him to get back to where he wants to be, because I know these world heavyweight titles have sort of almost been held hostage by the three guys, Fury, Usyk, and Joshua, for so long now. You're wanting these guys to get a shot. You like Hrgovic has done an interview with Hrgovic, and he said, "I ain't stepping aside. Nope, no amount of money will make me step aside. Doesn't matter how much it is. I want my shot." And he's got the right attitude, because he said to me that, this is Filip Hrgovic, he can make his money once he becomes undisputed.
Yeah,
he'll fight for the world titles, win them, and then he'll fight for undisputed. And that's, so he's thinking 2 fights ahead rather than immediately that just give me the step aside money and I'll become rich. No, he wants to fight and become rich rather than just taking that step aside, which is the right attitude. And he's probably in his own mind thinking, I want a crack at these world titles. I'm sick and tired of sitting on these sidelines for so long. Well, you've put this in quotation marks, I'm doing air quotes here. He beat Zhilei Zhang to get into this position. Do you know what I mean? And obviously Dempsey McKean, and he hasn't looked great against southpaws. So it's, again, do you think, I'll ask you the question then, Joe, do you think these world titles up at the heavyweight division have been held hostage for so long with all these rematches and whatnot? They don't really fulfill the mandatories. I mean, Joshua fulfilled his mandatory a good few times when he was unified, but it's like there's always these like 3 fights for Wilder, for Tyson Fury. He hasn't really chased a mandatory for so long, I believe, and it's you're wanting these contenders to get a crack at these belts.
It's hard because as much as we want Filip Hrgovic to get his shot, mandatory challenger for the IBF, we wanted Daniel Dubois to get his shot, mandatory challenger for the WBA. What we want more than those fights are the mega fights when they're fighting each other. So it's hard to get the balance, because for the right of the sport, every governing body does need a mandatory. But then when there's a unified champion that holds 3 of the belts, which has been the case since Joshua beat Parker for the 3rd trinket, then it is just a secular structure, because Usyk was Joshua's mandatory, so that was the WBO, and then before that, the IBF, it was Pulev. And then as soon as Usyk's got his title, he moved straight into the WBA. Then it's going to be IBF again. So when someone holds 3 of the belts, naturally you'll wait for longer, because these guys do only fight twice a year if we're lucky. So it's about getting the balances right, because it's only fair for these contenders to get their shots. But as fight fans, we want more than anything for the unifications and the biggest fights possible.
And that's it. And obviously, I seen we put up a post when I was away at the weekend that they're back talking again to make this Usyk and Tyson Fury fight, whether it be for next year. But again, as a boxing fan, Joe, you holding your breath for this one?
I don't know. I really don't know. We've heard so much. Look, if you'd have asked me 10 days ago, I was very confident that we'd see AJ Wilder by the end of January, February next year, and we don't know about that. The twists and turns of the boxing world change every hour. We put this up probably 7 o'clock, and it will be outdated. So as soon as we get something signed, I'll be more excited. But it seems that the heavyweights take a lot longer to get these fights over the line, and I know there's a lot more money on the line when it comes to the big boys. But I think there's elements of frustration now where they kind of have to do it or shut up about it. Do you know what I mean? So only time will tell. But as I said, I thought he was going to get Fury and Ngannou moving into a Fury Usyk with Wilder AJ. And now who knows what's happening? It could be Usyk Hrgovic, like we said. But Tyson Fury might end up fighting someone else who's high up on the WBC rankings, like Andy Ruiz. AJ might fight Ruiz for the trilogy fight there. I think give it a month, 6 weeks, and I think we'll really start to see it take shape. But what that shape looks like right now, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, mate. And again, it's a must. Like I say, go back to the Joyce fight and Zhang fight. It's a must win for these two, because like I say, it's the WBO interim title. Probably puts them in the spot now to fight Usyk for that WBO title when that is called. So it's going to be a tough fight. But for you, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. I know we've got to sit on the fence a little bit, being these media guys, and we've got splinters on our arse. But does Joyce do it this weekend? Can you see it happening?
again, it's tough because I really like both guys. Obviously, Zhilei Zhang really embraced British culture last time round. I went for a Chinese with him and Big John last time, which was fun. But I have got to back the Brit. I think speaking to Joe Joyce on and off camera, I think he knows where he made mistakes, and I think he knows how to rectify them. But it's just a case whether he will rectify them, whether he will be able to in the ring. So yeah, I think it's going to be very close. It's a tough one to call, but I've got a feeling Joe Joyce may avenge that loss. Can I ask you the same thing, Andy?
Well, listen, I'm confident. I'll be slightly more confident if I know Joe. I know I'm putting a lot of emphasis on this weight issue, but him being coming in light against Zhang in the first fight. But if he comes in heavy, matches Zhang's weight at 275 or whatever it was, I'll be more confident in him getting to the latter rounds, where Zhang always seems to taper away a little bit in the later rounds. And I think that's George's got all the engine. We know that. We know he's got an engine. And if he steps on him in rounds 9, 10, 11, 12, I think he can do it. So, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. I'm looking forward to Friday, Joe, the weigh-in. It's the first. I don't really normally look forward to weigh-ins, but I'm looking forward to this weigh-in to see the size of Joe Joyce if he comes in heavier. And if he does, I'll be confident that he can do it, because the big man's got an engine. He can punch as well. He can put dents in you if he wants. And I think that if he comes in at 270 and he hits Zhang, he's going to put a dent in him.
Certainly. And I just want to quickly mention about the undercard, because there's some serious talent on Saturday night. I'll just reel it off. Like, it's a who's who of the Queensberry stable, should we say. You've got Pierce O'Leary, who's certainly one of my favourite prospects. I think Anthony Yard's making his return fight. He wants big fights after what was an impressive outing last time against Bedbiev. Obviously, he didn't get that victory, but he done himself proud. You've got Sam Noakes, who's just steamrolling everyone. Zach Parker coming back off the injury after the John Ryder fight. Ezra Taylor very quickly becoming one of my favourite boxers to watch. Royston Barney-Smith, that young talent that Frank Warren seems to love. He's on every big show. So him with the Ben Davison gym. Moses Atomo, we don't even need to speak about him, because he, obviously everyone knows the heavyweight prospects. I know you want to talk about that, but Tommy Fletcher, Junior Alois, and they've got a little bit of a thing going on. So they could be on a collision course. And Sean Noakes, obviously brother of Sam. Yeah, it's completely stacked. Who do you want to talk about out of that?
Moses Atuma, because this young crop of heavyweights in the UK, like when I look at them, obviously Moses Atuma, you've got guys like David Adelaide's and Fabio's. You've got all these guys. I mean, Fraser Clark's in his 30s. He's not young, but I like these guys. I like these young crop of fighters coming through. And Moses Atuma, for me, I think he's got it. I think just that big southpaw. I mean, every heavyweight hates southpaw, because how many heavyweight southpaws are there, really? There's not many. And no. I just think that he's up there with one of my favorite fighters right now in terms of keeping that heavyweight division alive here in the UK. Do you know what I mean? And obviously we've got guys like what's his name? I want to look him up now. You've got Franklin Ignatius. We can't forget about him. Young Matty Harris, even though he lost his last fight, Matty Harris. It's the heavyweight business, but I'm sure he'll come back. So I'm really looking forward. This heavyweight division is especially for the young crop coming through, because, like I say, Tyson and Joshua and Usyk and Wilder, even Joe Joyce, Zhang, Hergovich, they're mid-30s, late 30s now. They're going to retire in 2, 3, 4 fights. And we need the young crop to come through. And I'm going to give a shout out to the American fighter, Jared Anderson, as well. He's an exciting prospect to come through. So when Jared starts fighting our guys in the Moses Atumas, I'm sure they're on a collision course in due course when the time is right to fight for the world title. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to Moses Atuma. I do like him. He speaks well. He's polite. But he's a monster in that ring. So I'm looking forward to watching the Moses Atuma.
Yeah, what I like about Moses is he's so young. He's still only 18, and it would be very easy to find opponents who he can steamroll and pad his record out in the first rounds. But he's getting actually rounds under his belt, which at his age is fantastic. He's showing he's got the power as well. I think they're really matching him well. He had a little injury with his hand that I think probably stunted him probably one fight. He's probably one fight behind where they wanted him to be, because I think they wanted him to be out like 8 times this year. So he might only be out 7 times. But I love the fact that he's getting rounds under his belt, because if you remember, when Anthony Joshua broke through, no one was giving him rounds. And don't get me wrong, that's so exciting, but just a bit of seasoning, because Anthony Joshua had a lot of senior experience in the amateurs, albeit in a short amount of time. But Moses never fought as a senior. He was amazing junior. So I think it's vital that he's getting in there with men and taking the big shots. So I can't wait for Moses Atama. I can't wait for Tommy Fletcher, who's one of my favourite prospects.
He could be a heavyweight, to be honest, the size of him.
Oh, he will be. He will be. The Norfolk Nightmare there. He's fantastic. And as I say, there's a rivalry with old Alois Jr., who, again, fights out of that Ben Davison gym. They don't like each other. So I think they'll fight each other sooner rather than later, because it's getting a bit tasty between them. There's some sparring stories and everything. And then Noakes is literally taking everyone out. And it's who will take him the distance at this point. Ezra Taylor, after the last performance, I don't think you can fault him. I think it's a really exciting card, and Anthony Yard adds that little sprinkle of excitement, because whatever fight Anthony Yard's in, you're going to be getting excitement and value for money.
Definitely. It's an exciting card, exciting night for boxing. I mean, we've missed it. It's been, a good couple of weeks now. I think the last one was 2nd of September, was Eubank and Liam Smith. So it's been 3 weeks, 3 weeks. Is it not?
It will be 3 time it comes round, yeah.
3 weeks by the time it comes round of us not having a boxing show, which is crazy. But listen, we'll have a review show on Sunday to see if not so much a prediction, but see if we're right in what we're saying. Well, I'll see if I'm right with the weight issue and obviously what you're saying as well. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, Joe. And no doubt I'll see you Sunday for the review show on this fight. So, listen, I don't know if are you covering the show Saturday?
Nope, I'm in Newcastle for Misfits, Aaron Chalmers versus Virgo this week.
Well,
so
enjoy that, mate. Enjoy it.
Thank you very much, mate. Thank you very
listen,
much.
Joe, see if you can get me a fight on it, okay? See if you can get me a fight with Joe Laws. I'll fight Joe Laws on the Misfits, right?
I think you need to cover a Misfit show, Andy, that then you can get yourself in there. I think you need to make your face present around that scene. That's what it should be.
Well, listen, let's see it. Do you think I should cover the Manchester show with you on the 14th of October? Is anyone doing that with you? Who's doing that with you?
I'm not sure. I don't know yet, but that one's going to be a big one. So, yeah, if you want to kick up a fuss at a press conference, I'll take you down there with me, Andy.
Yeah, but listen, Joe, I need handers. I need to know you're right behind me if shit does kick off and you're ready to rock and roll.
I'm behind you, but I'll be holding the camera, my friend. Listen, thank you very much, mate. Thank you for watching. Get us on TalkSmart with Pugh and McCart, IFL TV on all your social media platforms, Spotify, iTunes. Get at it, because we're going to be on it every week, and we'll see you soon.
Definitely. Joe, thank you, mate. Enjoy the rest of your week, brother.
You too, mate.
Bye-bye.
You to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day,